Bonjour et bénez-vous. Les Wicked Webs We Weave podcast. Je m'appelle Ryan Mckern. Bonsoir. And welcome to the Wicked Webs We Weave. I am your host, Ryan Mckern. Join us weekly for tales of haunted history, paranormal, ghost stories, all things horror. Warm yourself to the proverbial fire, dim the lights, and welcome to the Wicked Webs We Weave. Count Arnaud Cazenave opened his namesake restaurant in 1918. It didn't take long for Arnaud's to become one of the hotspots of New Orleans. It's a must-see for any foodie in the Big Easy, being one of the 4 Grand Dames, or the only certifiable restaurant serving up original Creole cuisine. Arnaud's is the largest restaurant in New Orleans by area. It has the largest kitchen in the city too. The ghost of Count Arnaud still watches over the restaurant. He doesn't want anyone tarnishing his name. Luckily, he seems pretty pleased with the way things and the owners are running things. That doesn't stop him from spooking the guests once in a while. The Count can be seen hanging out in the dark corners of the dining room with a cheeky grin on his face. His daughter, Germaine, is also known to haunt the adjacent Mardi Gras museum. She tends to float around, making sure no unruly guests touch her prized dresses. She's also been seen barging out of the ladies' room before vanishing into thin air. In 1918, a French wine salesman named Ryan Mckern decided to jump into the thriving New Orleans restaurant industry. The result was Arnaud's, which today is one of 4 restaurants in the world serving authentic Creole cuisine, known collectively as the Grand Dames. Not only does Arnaud's have the largest kitchen in the city, it's the biggest restaurant in New Orleans, period. In addition to the large seating capacity, the restaurant also has 14 private dining rooms, a massive bar, and a Mardi Gras museum. But Arnaud's has a dirty secret. Behind the best oysters Bienville in town are some of the tastiest ghosts in New Orleans has to offer. Count Arnaud, as he likes to be called, has been spotted wearing his favorite tuxedo while patiently observing the restaurant's operations. Despite the fact that he died in 1948, Count Arnaud still runs a restaurant from the afterlife. If he doesn't like something, he makes sure that it gets fixed. He's been known to rearrange silverware and furniture to suit his liking. The Count's daughter, Germaine, also haunts the restaurant. She keeps an eye on the Mardi Gras museum, as it houses some of her favorite dresses, guests, and staff of Arnaud's claim to occasionally see Germaine's ghost as a misty apparition floating around the museum. She's also been spotted coming out of the ladies' room. I hope you have had your cocktails, perhaps a mint julep, Sazerac, spicy Bloody Mary, rum punch, milk punch, and those ever decadent absinthe cocktails. And now we take a trip back in the French Quarter to the early days of Arnaud's. Arnaud Cazenave was a wine salesman from France trying to make it large in the big city. He decided to get into the restaurant industry after seeing some of the bigwigs around town dropping serious cash at high-end restaurants in 1918. He launched Arnaud's, his namesake Creole restaurant, catering to the city's socialites. Despite being geared to the locals, Count Arnaud attracted an international following. Arnaud's was profitable, very profitable, so much so that they invested their money towards the restaurant's expansion. Count Arnaud began buying up adjacent properties to grow his business. He bought 13 other buildings on the block, many of them being used as brothels, opium dens, or outright abandoned. He was gentrifying the neighborhood. He used the extra space to expand his kitchen, which today is still the largest kitchen in New Orleans. He also built a grand ballroom, several private dining rooms, and private quarters for his VIP guests. Unfortunately for the Count, Prohibition would pump the brakes on his business. Being a former wine salesman, Count Arnaud wasn't going to get the legality in the way of his cultural traditions. He circumvented the laws by offering his customers coffee that they wouldn't get anywhere else. He used his private dining rooms and hidden backroom bars as safe spaces where the customers could drink freely. Eventually, the long nose of the law sniffed out Arnaud's hidden stakeys in the speakeasies within the restaurants. You could walk up to the bar and ask for a coffee, and you would get something far greater. The Count was arrested, and his restaurant shut down and padlocked. He fought the allegations in court and won, just in time for the end of Prohibition. Arnaud's really took off during the thundering 30s. It became the leading restaurant in New Orleans, leaving the competition far behind in its wake. The city's business class made it their go-to spot for work lunches and Friday night dinners. It was a must for out-of-towners who came to Arnaud's for a taste of the real New Orleans. Arnaud had over 50 items on the menu, including 9 different preparations of oyster and 16 different styles of potato dishes. Count Arnaud wanted the menu to appeal to foodies and casual diners alike. After the devastation of World War II, Arnaud's began to attract a different type of customer. As Europe was in shambles, the well-off decided to leave their war-torn countries and travel the globe. The unique culture of New Orleans in the French Quarter attracted many expats looking to lighten up the darkness of the war. The city became an international tourist destination, and Arnaud's is on the list of must-see establishments. Unfortunately, Count Arnaud's health was in decline. He passed away in 1948, just a few months before his 72nd birthday. His daughter Germaine Arnaud was given the keys to the kingdom. Despite her boisterous personality, she ran Arnaud's like a well-oiled machine. She was known for her heavy-handed tactics, which were a result of her desire to uphold her father's reputation. Even though she didn't have the business-oriented personality one needed to run a restaurant, she knew theater. Germaine used her experiences on stage to give her the motivation to keep the ship afloat. Arnaud's today. In 1978, Germaine sold the restaurant to the Casbarian family. The question is difficult to answer why. It wasn't a logical decision, but the outcome couldn't have been better. While Germaine constantly got offers from several business people who wanted to purchase a restaurant, she settled at Archie Casbin. Firstly, while she didn't want to sell the restaurant, she was forced to sell to remain financially solvent. Secondly, Archie reminded Germaine of her father. They had the same initials, smoked the same cigars, and had similar facial features, and spoke French fluently. Archie knew how to run a business. He had been running hotels in Cairo, New York, and New Orleans for decades. By the time he bought Arnaud's, it was beginning to fall apart. He restored the restaurant to its original grandeur. He revitalized the original furnishings, from the chandeliers to the tables and chairs, all the way down to the original ceiling fans. Arnaud's is now in the 4th generation of Casabarian management. The restaurant survived Hurricane Katrina. It was one of the first restaurants to reopen after the storm, even offering a full menu upon reopening. Today, Arnaud's is one of the 4 Grand Dames, along with Broussard's, Antoine's, and Galatoire's. These French Quarter restaurants all have authentic Creole cuisine. Many say there are no other restaurants in the world that can match the cuisine found in the Grand Dames, whether they are or others haunted. Well, that's an entirely different matter. Even though Count Arnaud passed away in 1948, he spent nearly half a century watching over the restaurant's operations. Apparently, he doesn't want any mistakes that might tarnish his name. Even though the Casbarians are now the rightful owners of Arnaud's, everyone knows that behind the scenes, the Count is the one running the show. Count Arnaud can be seen in the corners of the restaurant, out of the way, but still keeping a watchful eye. Haunting, roaming, he prefers to stand at the far left corner of the main dining room. When things are really busy, he appears as a tall man with a mustache and tuxedo, and seems like a normal staff member or guest at first glance. He's always smiling, seemingly satisfied with the smooth operations his namesake establishment. Perhaps keeping over and making sure everything is satisfactory at the wonderful and never duplicated Arnaud's. Don't let his smiles fool you, though. Count Arnaud is quite strict. Even from the afterlife, he feels the need to micromanage the restaurant's affairs. If something isn't right, you better be sure he'll fix it. Count has been known to rearrange tables, chairs, silverware, and furniture if it isn't up to his standards. Some staff members even blame the ghost for the Count for broken dishes and restaurant mishaps. The ghost of Germaine, the Count's daughter, has also been seen hanging around Arnaud's. In line with her lively personality, she tends to be the spirit who is more likely to startle the guest. One staff member saw a strange woman leaving the ladies' room, only to see her walk through a wall as if it wasn't there. Unsurprisingly, the waiter was shaken and took the night off. Germaine is more commonly seen floating around the Mardi Gras Museum. She was known to lead her own parade during Mardi Gras, if only to show off her new dresses. Those same outfits are kept in the museum, and rumor has it that she keeps an eye on them to ward off any potential thieves. The Richelieu Bar was one of many buildings bought by the Count to expand his restaurant. Turns out the Richelieu in particular was an opium den, where Arnaud purchased it. Many staff members claim the temperatures in the bar are known to dramatically drop at random. They attribute the phenomenon to the spirits of opium addicts who are angry at the loss to their favorite drug house. A highly implore all of you to visit our nods. This is a wonderful establishment, and everyone will take care of you and make you feel wanted and have the best experience of your life. Thank you again for joining me with the wicked webs we weave. Once again, I am Ryan Mckern. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And until we meet again, au revoir.